Many questions swirl through your mind, but the question that comes to your head quickest and most clear when you ask the Duchess is, where do you suspect the bandit's fortress to be? She responds, because the fortress would have to be someplace that would be highly disputed, and armed forces would not be allowed to go, where they can go within a day or two's travel to get to any of the main roads. The next question that comes to your mind is, and you tell her. The next question that you ask is, where were the merchants coming from, and where were they going? As to where they were coming from the three main cities. And where they were going is they were all passing through to the other countries. And the last question that enters your mind is, were any of them carrying anything valuable? Some were. Some were carrying gifts that were going to other countries. Others were carrying nothing more than grain and simple fabrics. Who they hit and what they hit seems to be regardless to them. Only the fact that they're hitting caravans that are going from one country to the other. Not to sound rude, or to sound like it's too much of a task, but we're talking about more than 4,330 square miles to be searching. I know the task is daunting, which is why I called for as many as I could without raising suspicions. All I ask is that you would do your best. I understand. We'll head out immediately. As the two of you leave the city and quickly go on the main road, he takes you off of the main roads and into the forest, where the two of you begin to immediately start searching. The two of you barely exchange any words as you're traveling along in the forest, as you're trying to keep yourself from being lost while looking for things that you can use, and signs of a bandit's tracks. You know that this task will probably take more than just a day. As you're wandering through the woods, you're not lost, but at the same time you're just overwhelmed with the sheer thought of being out here in the wild. For one of the first few times out on something so dangerous that you find yourself somewhat lost in thought. Hey, you need to pay a little better attention. Sorry. You two stop for a short rest in the morning, just before lunch, and have something to eat and drink, refilling your waters in one of the nearby creeks. You two continue on in the late afternoon, and it's starting to get dark. Focusing yourself, you not only keep yourself from getting lost, but you also notice and pick up a few things along the way. You see noticeable usable items that you could pick up if you were on the way back, or if you just wanted to have something as an excusable item for later. But you decide not to pick any of it up, as the higher speed that your friend is going keeps you from taking too much time to collect much of anything. I don't think we're going to be in that much of a hurry. I doubt we'll find the bandits in a day. True. All of my comrades have been out here for nearly 5 days now. If any of them have found it, how will they look upon me, who has been sitting in that castle, eating such rich foods, and doing nothing? I see. There's a clearing up ahead. We should set up here soon. The two of you quickly set up camp. As he makes the fire, you ask him, "How far do you think we've traveled?" "If we're lucky, about 30 miles. We've had almost all day to travel." "When I sent out the rest of them, I told them to go along the roads until they found good points, and to start heading towards the center." "Pretty good thinking." The two of you eat your meal quietly for a few minutes. Then he asks, "What's the meaning of your name?" "Excuse me?" "What's the meaning of your name?" "When we go hunting, if we hunt with someone new, we talk of each night, one side asking questions to the others, until they get to the hunt. That way, both sides can trust the other." You mull that over for a second, and then answer, "Plankmaker's a family last name. It's because my family builds ships." All of the other wizards were incredibly weak. How come they put so much faith in you?" "Probably because of the fact that I've been studying since I've been 8. And the fact that my teacher happens to be the Grand Archmage himself." I take it that he is strong." "I doubt you'd find anyone stronger in the entire continent." "Still, you are far weaker than I." "Weakness and strength is different than power, or the lack thereof." The two of you sit down and eat for a few more minutes. Then he asks, "So, how did you become the apprentice of such a strong teacher?" "Well, when I was 8, I found a scroll of water walk, which allows you to walk on water. I had purchased many books on magic, and all the ingredients needed to cast the spell, when I was just a small child, and I put it in my father's name. It piqued the attention of the Grand Archmage himself, who decided to come down. He happened to catch me while I was casting the ritual. It wasn't a complete success. I started walking out in the water, and then a few moments later I started to sink. Every time I took another step, I started to sink another inch. But the fact that he saw it and saw how young I was, thought I had much potential, so he encouraged my dad to let me come and study directly underneath him." Very interesting. Well, we'll see, hopefully, in the next few days, just how powerful you are. Why don't you rest for the first few hours? I'll wake you before I go to sleep to take the last watch. As you lay down, you try to think to yourself, what kind of questions would you want to ask him? And what kind of things will you be seeing here? These questions swirl in your mind till the early hours of the morning.